because it's also part of what makes us cool.
She could do like a very good Shakira impersonation.
Incredibly good. Like,
Obligated me to change my sound
yeah.
radically.
Hi, welcome back to Unsigned Berlin. The episode is coming at you in just a second. I just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce our guests. So this week I talk with Nico Peña and Sean Gonzalez of NoPorNada's, which is Spanish for Not For Nothing. It's a, of course, Berlin-based independent band, but they have members from all over Latin America. And the two guys are both producers, so we talk a little bit about their approach to production and how Berlin has changed their sound, and then, of course, how the band came together and their upcoming album. Towards the end of the episode, we also talk more about both of their solo projects. So for Nico, that's a bit of like a focus on how he's finding a new sound in Berlin and leaving behind his more Latin sound a little bit. And for Sean, it's the other way, largely. So we talk about that and also about, of course, the Mick Jenkins feature that Sean had on his most recent EP or album, which was called Programmed Obsolescence. And yeah, I really enjoyed the interview. And just before we get to the interview, I also wanted to shout out our Substack. So if you want to get a little bit more of Unsigned Berlin, have some insights onto the music industry and why music culture is changing in the way that it is, and what we can do about making sure that music as an art form is preserved in the best way possible, then you can check out our, I think, 7-part series, which is coming out on Substack. And that'll be linked below. So without further ado, here's a little snippet of a song by NoPorNada's, and we'll get to it.
De no mirar frente a frente son emociones heridas. Por eso te digo,
How the band originally came together, because you're from three different countries,
Yeah.
and you're in Berlin, far from home, far from Bolivia. So how did you guys originally meet?
You want to start?
Sure. So we all know each other as friends from like the Latin American diaspora. There's plenty of people there, and basically all of the musicians got together at first, and we started a project called Naive. But we were missing a vocalist basically. So we both make music separately in the we have solo projects, right? And I already had this solo project, so Naive turned out to be another Sean Gonzalez project. I'm Sean Gonzalez, by the way. So none of the bandmates wanted that. We were missing like key components to make it something different. The pandemic hit. Nico was living in Barcelona at the time, and our lead vocalist Nikki, who's from Colombia, was also living in Barcelona at the time. Both moved here during the pandemic, and they both instantly joined our group basically. And Naive dissolved, and NoPorNada's was born out of that. And we were missing like the two key components we were missing in the beginning.
Right. And then from there, how long was it until you released your first single and it was official project?
It's a long time, I think, no?
Pretty long, like a year.
Yeah, because like we started, it's not so long, yeah, but like Sean said, like we started meeting like just randomly, just like to jam, to make some music, and I think one of the sessions, Nikki, the singer, came just to vibe, to chill with us, and she was like, "Oh, I can sing a bit," and we were like, everyone was like, "Okay." Musicians with egos were like, "Sure, Nikki, sure you can sing," whatever, you know. And then she started to sing, and it was absolutely incredible. And it was like, okay, you're instantly in the band, even though if you don't want to, I don't know. It was just like instant click, exactly. So yeah, I think that was the thing that also missed. Like we were having this project, we were advancing some tunes with Sean and with the other guys. But then Nikki's voice just like came, and it was like the last piece of the puzzle basically for the band. And then after that, I think things started moving quickly. So like from the start, from the beginning, I don't know, we were just like goofing around, and then Nikki came, and everything started to go quicker. And then a couple of months later, we released some music. Yeah.
And then you were in Berlin, or you were in Barcelona?
In Berlin. Everything happened in Berlin, basically, yeah.
Exactly. It was crazy. I didn't know Nikki could sing that well. I just knew she could do like a very good Shakira impersonation.
Incredibly good, like insane.
We should have known then, you know. We missed the signs. But it was always meant to happen with her. Like she always knew she was gonna be part of it. She just had to go like one session, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that
Were you
was
guys-
2021, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And were you guys producing, or
Yeah.
so? How do you feel like the band's sound changed between you guys doing the project? It was a bit of a Sean Gonzalez project, and then when she joined and the band sort of came together as NoPorNada. Like, how do you feel like it changed? in terms of
Right.
the sound?
So the Fun Naive, I was producing most of it. That's the reason it kind of sounded a little bit too much like Sean Gonzalez.
Okay.
And afterwards, we started. My house was not a good place to have that many people around. It was just like too small.
Mm-hmm.
And Nico's house is pretty big. He started getting like a lot of gear, so that became our official studio, and he became like the official producer behind the computer, basically, for this. So the whole sound changed radically. I mean, I'm still like by his side, like taking all the decisions, all this stuff, as is Naoki, our bass player. But since I'm not like behind the specific sounds anymore, it doesn't really sound like that old project anymore.
Right.
And we're not really like a conventional band in the sense that he's like the guitar player, he's like the bass player. Most of us are really like producers. So we're like micromanaging every single aspect of the beat, you know,
Right.
till we like compromising like we gotta compromise all of our like creative decisions in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because I think the sound of the band also develops with like time lapses. Like some songs sound more like Sean's vibe, which is more housey, which is more he raps more, you know. I mean, he raps.
Right.
I'm more of a pop guy. I sing more like more melodically, and Naoki has also a different vibe, and Nikki has another vibe. So I think it's just like it's cool because it develops basically like really naturally between the band members. So maybe one day someone has a good idea and we come up with a really Latin beat that Nikki loves, or like salsa beat, or like something more of South American, and maybe Sean comes with something different. So I think it's cool because like we're really different in terms of style and music, and that easily develops the sound, I think. So if you listen to our songs, you're gonna notice a bunch of like a bunch of styles, but somehow something holding it together, like a line that I don't know.
Right, we're reaching for a signature sound already at this point. But yeah, so many genres. Our top hit is like a bossa nova mixed with hip hop in the end.
Which one?
Mixed with R&B. It's called Entre la Sal. Then we got like I think our sweet spot is R&B.
Right.
That's what Nikki's voice is, the mellowest form, and that's been like the core of our producing, of our music making. But we've ventured into cumbia. I don't know if you're.
The Gomenasai one has like
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Who's driving that when that comes out?
That's a good question. How started that?
I wasn't actually there for like the making of Gomenasai.
And they were like, "It's fucking use the time."
I was like,
It's on.
put my name on there. I bet it was like just one day, okay, today let's make a cumbia. That's mostly how it started. Like we arrive one day, we work on the track we were working on last week, and then it's like, okay, what should we make today? And we like have each a reference.
Right.
So let's say I put like a Tame Impala reference. Nikki puts like a salsa reference. He puts in like the Maria's reference, and we see what we're in the mood the most for.
Yeah.
And we do that. Probably that day was like a cumbia, and just like doing it because like why not, right? We're like three producers. Like let's use the three of our heads to like try to produce like a genuine cumbia. Same thing with the Tame Impala song, the Maria song. Like all of our beats are basically a reflection of our musical influences, right?
Yeah. Is it mostly sample based stuff? So you like build a beat on your door and then add the guitars and stuff, or is it kind of just like random, whatever happens?
Not really that sample based. Just like we try to we steal the vibe I think it's like, okay, we want this vibe, so we kind of like produce it. Not we don't really like sample things.
What
or
I mean
something.
in terms of like for the drums, is it mostly like loops or MIDI like hits?
Ah, yeah,
or is it live stuff?
yeah, exactly. We don't have a drummer per se.
Mhm.
We play with a couple of drummers, but yeah, like we build everything basically on the computer. Like we found samples of everything there, and then like most of us, I mean, Naoki is our bass player. That's like the most, yeah, it's a key part of it because it gives it like he has a specific sound also, and we both are guitar players, so. Yeah, we use a lot of drum samples and stuff to build the songs.
For sure, we don't have a live drummer, but I think that's part of like the hip hop producing part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I really like playing samples and all this stuff. It's a bit tedious, and when you have like this session where time is limited, sometimes it's not the best to be picking like hours samples, right? So we might start with like some basic drums and just like compose the tune and then like fine tune the drums, and make it sound like cohesive to the song.
I also noticed that in the last couple of releases, I think the last 2 or 3 singles, there's more like little bits of ear candy and like high-endy like atmosphere stuff. Is that coming from one person individually, or do you think it's just like...
You mean like the weird sounds?
Yeah, and sort of like there's a bigger feeling of space. Maybe it's more reverb. I don't know. And there's kind of that frequency range is more full than in like the first releases are much more like dancey and mean.
Okay, I hadn't noticed that like consciously, but for sure we try to make it more airy, I guess. Do you know which song specifically you're talking about?
I know it's definitely the last 2 releases, but I don't remember the name.
La Vesi?
La
Like the
Vesi.
one that's
Think
kind of
so.
funky?
Like funky.
Yeah.
That was Nico. That's Nico producing, doing like guitar arrangements mostly,
Right.
and like bright percussions type thing,
Yeah.
like bells, tuk 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 tuk, that type of
Yeah.
stuff. We've been like venturing to that kind of like percussive elements lately a lot, cause it just has this special groove to it.
Yeah.
But it's also difficult to explain. Like it's really natural what comes, to be honest, like what comes to the music. So like we don't really are analytical about what we're gonna do on the day,
Yeah, yeah.
or what we're gonna. So literally that song probably came because we listened to a good song that was like that and was like, oh, I want that vibe, and we just start doing it, So it's kind of, yeah, it's fun because like really we don't know what's gonna come in the day. Like normally the songs are like absolutely unplanned, and it's like, okay, let's do one last bit before you go, we have half an hour. And normally those songs are the ones that somehow work the best. So yeah, it's cool because we don't really analyze it or like, oh, I really want this sound. It's just like what are we feeling today? And yeah, I think it's cool to just go with the flow, I guess, and go just.
For the album, have you found any ways, or have you struggled at all with like trying to make it one cohesive bit of work instead of like a bunch of different genres that maybe could be great singles but don't work as an album?
That's currently being debated, I think,
Right.
or we are like currently trying to pick which songs are gonna get in, if every song is gonna go in the album, and what is the order of the album. But also I think it's I'm not so much of a fan of like saying, okay, this album has to be like this style and the specific this vibe, because it's also part of what makes us cool, like I think it's what I think. So it's also part of the journey. It's also cool to listen to an album or to a band, to the first record of a band, and see the development of the sound,
Yeah.
So like we are struggling because some old songs are starting to sound old.
Right.
Of
Right.
course,
We-
it's like
We fucking hate him. Can we swear on this?
Yeah.
exactly. Some songs are like, okay, we made that 3 years ago, we don't vibe with them anymore, or we
Right.
listen to them like way too many times. So it's like, fuck, we don't want to do. We would not like to put it on the album, but at the same time, there are some songs that people love, and it would be, I don't know, it would be kind of not so cool for someone that really follows the band to listen to the album and say, hey, my favorite song was not there just because it was old for them, or because they don't
Exactly.
vibe with that.
For a deluxe version of that.
Exactly, maybe for many deluxe versions. But yeah, so like I think the album is gonna be like kind of a reflection of us and a reflection of our the way we work. So it's basically it's gonna be a bunch of genres. It's gonna be like kind of
Right, some songs dated, some songs like damn they were like really cooking this day.
Yeah.
The end of the day is gonna be just like a display of like our range. And then later on in the future, like we can really try to make a cohesive piece of work, you know?
And I think it's also cool, like the first album is really just like, for me, just like, just throw everything you have there, you know? Like, I think it would be a mistake, or I think for me it would be a mistake to spend too much time thinking about, I don't know, a specific style that we want to do, or a specific genre, whatever, when every time we meet, something cool comes up that is different. So if I would be there saying like, no, guys, let's make an R&B right now, we were vibing with some, I don't know, bossa nova beat, it would absolutely destroy the I think the creative process that of how we work, no? So
then you miss a song that could have been really good.
Exactly, and there are beats that at the beginning sometimes they're like, oh my god, we're doing this, which I mean, none of us have any idea how to produce. I don't know. The cumbia, for example, was something like that, no? So, I mean, of course, we listen to a lot of cumbia because we come from South America or whatever, but nobody really produced a cumbia beat before.
Right.
So it was like, okay, how do we fix it? Maybe if some of us would be more tough and say, okay, guys, no, we're not a cumbia band. This is not what we do. It wouldn't have come out the way it did, you know? So
and it can be as easy as well as like maybe it's just one person mixes it, and it's kind of like the style's there. There is a consistent sound, but it's not the genre at all.
Exactly. In the end, also like these differences that make it quote unquote uncohesive, I think that's something we gotta embrace ultimately, because it's what gives our production so much personality. If we were only doing like the R&B stuff without I really like to dive into electronic music, and I love like the textures and all these aspects of electronic music, and I try to incorporate them as much as I can into like our NoPorNada compositions, right? So if we were only doing like this R&B songs, that's been done like million times over, but we incorporate like these textures, these things, we make it like a little bit like more weird sounding, or we're doing it like an electronic beat, but instead of just doing like one chord or two chords, we're like doing it like more complicated musically, stuff like this. Everybody like profits from this differences that we have in like our approach. And maybe it sounds uncohesive, but it's interesting. It makes it the more interesting, in my opinion.
And I think it's a push and pull always. Like Sean always wants to go one way, for example. Everyone wants to go their own way naturally. So like Sean pulls, okay, let's make a beat. And I'm always like more melodically or more like songwriting stuff. So, okay, but what is the melody, for example? No, let's pull a good melody. And then no, I don't know, Naoki, I don't know his style. He's like...
he has many styles.
But yeah, it's true. It's the thing, like everyone is like pulling the string to their side until something comes out in the middle. So it's never just like a house beat or like a pop song or an R&B beat.
It's all of it.
It's something in the middle that everyone was mad at the beginning that they had to concede. But then at the end, it's like, we know that's what makes the song good, no? Like, we all have our solo projects. We can do we can do whatever we want. Like,
exactly.
It's easy there. But if you don't compromise with the ideas, then the band wouldn't make any sense, no? It wouldn't be so interesting, I guess.
It's true. You gotta pick your battles, you know? Like, everybody has like their baby. Like, this song is like my baby. I really wanna like keep this, keep that. So you gotta really pick your battles on the songs you really like, are fighting for your vision. You know what I mean?
Are there any of the 10 singles that are out that there's like something that people didn't want in that you were like, I got it in and I'm really happy about it?
I know the other way around. I know a lot of stuff that I didn't want in and that got in. I was like, I fucking hate that track now. Like, not promoting it.
I think it's I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that I wanted to go in as well, and it did at the end. It was cool. Like Go Aside for me is like the perfect example. Like that was a song that was like the most out of our, I think our style
Right.
at the moment. And it was a bunch of production and discussion regarding like the sound. Okay, this is sounding too yeah, this is not blah 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 blah. But at the end, it got in and it got a good response. But yeah, I guess everyone has a favorite and a least favorite track.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes your least favorite track is also the people that the song that people likes most, and that's just the way it is. I think with many musicians, it's super common. So like, at the end, it's not us. I think it's just like we throw it out there, and if it's for the people to enjoy. No, it's not. It's not for us to enjoy so much.
You both being producers, is that how you got into music? Especially your solo music feels very like singer-songwriter, guitar and vocals first,
Yeah.
and then production later. How was your, maybe first with you, Nico, like what was your track onto getting into production is the main thing?
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, so I was like a guitar player my whole life, and I started producing in the pandemic. I started doing I've done covers like since I was a kid really, and posted it on the net. But then on the pandemic, I bought a mic. I like started producing more covers that were like better produced. And yeah, like I started releasing my songs, which were really me guitar and singer-songwriting stuff. And I think with my solo career, at least, like I stayed on that path, no, in a pop genre, so to say. But what really developed I think my production skills and my interest in production in general was meeting with the guys, because like there's something so beautiful and so difficult about collaborating with artists. Like it's horrible sometimes. It's like super tough to shut your inner ego and like trust what the other one is saying, because like every artist is super egotistical, I think, or like a bit, because it's your baby, no? Like it's your art is like is in your head, no? It's what makes you. So when I started producing with the guys was really that feeling of, okay, shut up a bit and don't control everything, and try to follow what the others and trust the talent of others, no, and the ideas of others. And I think that became really addicting and really also like rewarding. So like there's a moment when you listen to what you recorded and you know it's incredible, and that moment is just like nothing. It's like the best feeling you can have. And yeah, I think like that the collaborating with the guys, and also with more artists here in Berlin, is what made me fell in love with the production side of it and not just the composition and the singing part of it. So yeah, like right now I'm producing NoPorNada, I'm mixing it, and also working with other artists. So like somehow I ended up in a really producer path when I was really more of the guy with the guitar, I guess.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it a lot. Yeah.
You remember the first song that you listened to and you were like, oh, this is
damn. I'm not sure the first song, but every song that we release, I think there's a moment when we listen to it and it's like, this works, this is great, this is incredible. And I don't know, like yeah, I don't know if I can tell you the first song that I remember that happened, but I can say you that happens every time. And that's why this project, I know this project has so much potential, because I think as a producer and as a musician also, you have to like trust in your taste, no? And I trust in my taste, and I know when something is good, for me at least.
But if you had to pick one though,
pick one, oof, that's a tough one, man. I don't know.
Like,
do you have one?
your favorite children? I don't know, man. Maybe Intransigente. I fuck with Intransigente a lot.
Intransigente, it's a good song. I think for me, Abnormal Behavior, which is like a ballad that we wrote, and it's really melodical. It's like really a melodic song, or like a really sad lyrics. And there's a moment where Nikki comes in the second verse, and we take the bass out, and we just hear her voice. and then the first verse I sing and sounds okay, sounds good, and then she comes and is like changes the vibe of the song, and like she has such as like a sweet voice, and when I heard that verse, a verse that we wrote, she singing that verse, it was just like this is perfect. So I think that is more my vibe, like the melodic part of our
Heartful.
songs. Heartful, yeah.
Right.
What was that for you? How did you get into production? I would guess it's first based on your solo stuff.
Right.
Hip-hop.
So when we were kids, we were actually like we were in the same school in La Paz, Bolivia. We were both guitar players, although I was a much less gifted guitar player, and that's where production came in. I started like producing on an iPad, on GarageBand, and that was for me my way of compensating what I couldn't do like that much with the guitar, composition was, because I had all these great ideas. I just like didn't know that many chords and stuff. So when I started like layering stuff on top of each other, like I realized I had like I realized my real talent was basically arranging and not so much like playing the guitar. So then I started like leaving the guitar more and more and like ditching it for the MIDI.
Right.
And this happened 8 years ago. So now I'm really like deep into it, and it's like such a process, one of those things where practice makes perfect. And I really love it. I still do it like most of my days. And I gotta say, Naoki, the other member of our group, really pushed me in this, because I was producing really with no ear whatsoever for like the samples. I was just like layering stuff on top of each other. And he always would be like the one to tell me like my shit was trash. He was like, this is like ass, the beat you just made. I'm like, what the fuck? But that really pushed me to like appreciate samples, and that's what makes a beat sound really good. Like good samples, good drum samples, syncopation, embrace weirdness. He also taught me this, especially weird synths. That's what it's all for me about textures, not so much about like musical complexity. That's how it started. And at the beginning, I just wanted to rap because I was like infatuated with hip hop, but I didn't want to rap on top of some beats that I would later not be able to use or release.
Yeah.
So I was just making beats to have something to write and in the end it overtook that. Now I like making beats more, and it was hip hop. Now I love like indie, electronic music, house especially, IDM, all these genres. It's just so much, a whole universe. And living in Berlin for that was like a huge thing, right? Because this is the mecca for like intelligent and avant-garde electronic music, and just avant-garde in many genres. That's the reason it's a logical hub for us, like being here. It's just like so much, and there's a huge Latin diaspora here too. So it's just like a great place for us to soak in all these influences and like bring it out in this like creative output that we're having.
Your last solo project, the planned obsolescence or programmed obsolescence, is all about technology and our relationship with it and being too reliant on it. Do you feel like through doing that project, your production's changed and you're like, I'm just like, I guess maybe if you're in Logic, like doing Logic all the time and I need to like move away from experimenting with other stuff. Sorry, just quickly, can you pass the water, please?
Sure.
Yeah, please, guys.
Sorry, coughing season. 100%. So a program obsolescence was born out of my old computer just died from one day to another. And that's planned obsolescence, right? It's just like it's programmed to like die at some point. And I was that completely fucked me up at the time. So I decided on that day, okay, I'm gonna make an album called Planned Obsolescence, in like to pay homage to like all the lost, because I didn't have no backup, nothing. I literally like lost it all.
Sudden death.
Yeah, sudden death.
I've had stress dreams of like my fucking apartment burned down and my hard drive was there and I didn't back it up.
No, it was the worst. Now I do back up my stuff. But yeah,
It has to happen for you to learn, I think. No?
exactly. And if that wouldn't have happened, my music would have still have been mid. I wouldn't have like progressed that much because like I was still doing like this guitar, electronic, hybrid hip hop beats that at the time they were okay, but like now in retrospect, I'm like, nah, that was not it.
Right.
It really pushed me to like this concept of okay, I'm gonna do like this really electronic album. Also still like rooted in hip hop, but like all of the beats are really like electronic.
Do you feel like that change was based on more like I have a concept for an album now, or was it like it just deleted my whole sample library and my plugin presets?
Both. I mean, I definitely didn't have like this library anymore, which was good because that like obligated me to change my sound radically, and that was actually amazing for me, and that was where the sonics for the album were birthed out of. And now I'm sticking to it, you know. I love like these new textures that I found. And
You gotta delete everything again and see what comes out later. Every couple of years, destroy your
Just like-
computer and start over.
toss it. Yeah.
I did basically do like I didn't destroy it, but when I switched laptops, I was like, I'm not gonna take any files, like project files, over, and I'm just gonna like try to do it from
From
fresh.
scratch.
Oh,
And
really?
the new computer I bought had a bunch of plugins on, so I was like, I don't have to deal with that.
I think it's a good idea to
Yeah.
like unlearn. It's cool to unlearn stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I'm like kind of ditching like English hip hop like altogether,
Right.
trying to unlearn everything I know from like how I make beats to like do something new, you know, like not because once you're like too rooted in your structure, it's so hard to get out of it in music making. That's the cool thing about NoPorNada. We don't really have that because each time we're producing something, it's like something new, you know. So we don't really have like a structure of what we want to do or how we want to do it. In my solo stuff, it's like, okay, I already have this. Okay, it's basically like following a formula, you know. And I'm trying to like not do this anymore.
Yeah. Before talking about the new project that I want to talk about,
Sure.
be interesting to hear about the Mick Jenkins feature that you had on Programmed Obsolescence.
Oh, for
and
sure.
how
You like
that
Mick
happened.
Jenkins?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Mick Jenkins. That's like one of the first rappers I used to listen to when I was first getting infatuated with hip hop. It was surreal. He was doing features like for on Instagram. He was like, "I'm doing features. Send me an email." I sent him an email without much hope. I sent like so many emails every week, and they're all rejected. I'm always like applying for like gigs or like labels or like agencies. I'm like rejected like 195 times a day. But if I get like 5 return emails, it's a success, you know?
Yeah, you have to.
Exactly. And Mick Jenkins was one of them. And he had like this rate for the features that he was doing. And it was like $5,000 or so. And there's no way I could afford that. And I told him like, I have like this very limited budget, but hey, like, I love your songs from like back in the day. I love Plain Clothes is like one of my favorite tracks. I told him that. And he was like, okay, I got you, because I like the beat and blah, blah, blah. I'm paraphrasing, but he was like grateful that I mentioned like Plain Clothes or something. And that's how it came about, basically.
Okay.
And I told him, okay, perfect. And then like a couple of weeks went by and he was just ghosting me. I was like, oh fuck, now I gotta hate Mick Jenkins. I was like really stressed. And and his verse arrived on Christmas Day, 2022 actually.
That's a nice gift.
It was
Yeah.
the greatest gift, really. And that's how it came about, really.
I didn't know he did that, because I've seen he has features on like a bunch of really small artists
He does, yeah.
stuff, and I was kind of like, I don't know, I was just impressed. I was like, oh, it's really cool that
Such a
Mick
nice
Jenkins
dude.
knows
Nah,
who this is.
he's milking us.
Okay, fair. But I mean, it's working. It's
Nah,
nice.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
No, he's great, and I love that big artists like do that. Take the time to collaborate with
Yeah.
like smaller artists.
Imagine the amount of fucking requests that he gets as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's really lucky and you play your cards right. Like you said the right
Exactly.
thing.
But he's also
Exactly.
done a good job of like picking musicians that it is good music as well. He's
Yeah.
not like just selling features.
Have you listened to like the other tracks?
That he's featured on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one. What's the name of this duo? Ferg and Fisherman, like a
Mm.
German. They're also from Berlin.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, it's interesting that these two people also have
Oh, fun.
Funny.
they're also like a hip hop production duo.
Nice.
It's a nice
Which
Nice
song
track.
was better, mine or theirs?
I
Don't answer.
remember
Don't
that, to be
answer, don't
honest.
answer. Never mind.
No.
Sometimes the truth can be brutal.
But the new project, which is, I do have the name somewhere, but it's strange. Clean Cache Galgo 100,000.
That's great. You really did your homework, man.
Try.
That's the new project that I wanna dive into. That's more
Mhm.
rooted in Latin club, NoPorNada's.
Mm-hmm.
And are you aware with this genre?
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking amazing, so experimental. And we growing up in Bolivia, we only have like the reggaeton parties growing up, right? So that was like kind of like the mainstream, and we hated that growing up because it was the mainstream. There was nothing like
Yeah.
too underground about it
Yeah,
at
it's
all.
like Euro Club here. It's like,
So we were like catering to like very Western, like European stuff, electronic music, hip hop, and like being here so long and not having like these influences from your roots, from like from Latin America. It's also tough, like me just trying to rap in English all the time, and like it doesn't feel right anymore. You know, I wanna like connect with Latin America back in a way, and I'm trying to regain this. Regain this reggaeton rhythm, like the dembow, for like experimental purposes, and not just like throwing to like a radio ready record.
yeah.
That's important for me. But this project is not only about that, but about doing stuff in Spanish and getting away from this structure that I was telling you about, in this hip hop structure. I want to do like more experimental stuff, more
Mhm.
like electronic stuff. And yeah, this Spanish aspect is just like one aspect of it.
Yeah. Have you found other people in Berlin that are doing neoperreo?
There's like, I found out about a Bolivian girl who's part of the circuit big time, called Make. I didn't know she was Bolivian. But there's so many. There's so many artists doing that. There's a big circuit going on right now. And it's very experimental. That's what I love the most
And
about
it's
it.
perfect Berlin vibes as well, like because it's are like Latinos coming here and experimenting electronic music and putting our
Sauce.
stuff, no? Like,
Right.
and
Mhm.
Berlin is exactly for that. Like, if you do a normal reggaeton beat with no interesting production, then it wouldn't hit here in Berlin because
Yeah.
I mean, in some clubs maybe, but like in the in the good scene of
Mm-hmm.
you need to be also like experimental. You need to be interesting, and I think it's a good place that you chose to be because exactly that, no? Like, stop being so restrained by house music and just bring in some of your sauce.
100%. And stop catering so much to the European ear, like just stop doing like this, all of this, like that I've been doing my whole life, like rapping in English, like doing hip hop beats, doing like these housey beats. When I go back to Bolivia and play, I feel like kind of weird, like having
Right.
all of my songs being English. It's kind of a downer.
Mm-hmm.
I really love like when we played our NoPorNada's songs back home, they really hit,
Right.
So it's cool to have both for sure, like
Mhm.
English and Spanish.
Do you feel like that's reflected in your music as well? Like, since being here, that you've kind of wanted to make more Latino sounding music?
I think it's for me like the other way around, or like a whole different process that Sean is having. So like I sing in Spanish mostly, and there's a couple of songs in No Por Nada that we sing in English as well, but mostly I sing in Spanish. And I think the style of my music I do is very catered for Latin audiences. So it's like Latin pop, indie pop in
Mhm.
Spanish. And I think right now at the moment I'm trying to find how can I translate it to a Berlin audience, or even if I want to stay in Berlin for long, or even if it's worth it for me to keep doing that music here, because like that's something that really here does not hit, no, like some like indie pop in Spanish is something that you can all go. It's difficult to find really an audience for that here. So I think I'm having a reverse process as Sean. So like Sean is going back to his roots, I guess, in Spanish and whatever, and I'm trying to embrace new stuff. Okay, I'm gonna sing. Do I want to sing in English or not? Or really say like maybe Berlin is not the place for that music, and I have NoPorNada, which is for me like perfect for here. Like NoPorNada is my project that can evolve here, that has an audience here in Berlin, and I have also a solo project that is really more the thing that I like, the music that I like, which is more catered for, I don't know, Latin American pop in the indie scene in Latin America, no. So yeah, I'm having like that I don't know, that
struggle.
Struggle maybe, to find an audience here for or to see if here is the place to do that stuff, no.
Yeah, it makes sense. We've done about 40 minutes. Before finishing up, before doing promo and everything, are there any Bolivian artists or subgenres or anything like that you are really excited about that no one really knows about because it's so far away? Maybe who don't speak Spanish.
It's tough. Like I collaborate with like a lot of musicians there. I think there's a really good album that I like a lot of an artist that we are planning on collaborating as well, which is called Alice, which is Alice and double S. Which makes, I don't know, it kind of makes like also pop with some electronic. He raps a bit, but the last album I think is 2 years ago, which is getting a bit old, but I think it was incredible. So
cool.
You should absolutely listen to it. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you have something. You have a collab also coming, no?
No, I wouldn't know what to say. Like, maybe I like Wara. It's like a psychedelic. It's like the Bolivian Pink Floyd.
Okay.
I think I would plug that into the audience if they
cool.
want to listen to something Bolivian.
Nice. We'll link both of those below.
It's cool because it's completely different. Like one is 80s, is from the what is from the 80s,
right?
And the one I gave is modern, so it's gonna be a good trip to listen to both of them.
Nice, cool. Before we finish up, do you have anything you want to promote? That's
for
sure,
sure,
or a release.
So NoPorNada, we're gonna debut our album this summer. It's gonna be called NoPorGráfico, and it's gonna have like all of the bangers that we already have out there, plus 6 new bangers. So, and they're really all good, and we really had a tough time like picking all the songs because honestly we have like older songs that are still like so good, but they're kind of dated in comparison to the new ones. Like it was a tough selecting process, but I think the final outcome of the album is gonna be very nice and ultimately cohesive as well, and we're super excited about it.
Nice, awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for coming. Thanks to everyone for listening. If you can leave a review and if you can like, that helps us a lot. If you did like it, and share it to people who might be interested. I think that's everything. Thank you guys very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, man.
Cool. We're done.
Bravo.
Open a window.